Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
It is January 3rd, a Wednesday in the new year 2018, and I am going to start the new year off right with a couple of great groaners. Listen to these. I love them. Did you hear about the fellow whose entire left side was cut off? Oh, he's all right now. Oh, and here's my favorite. The guy who fell into an upholstery machine is now fully recovered. Oh, good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you out there in Radio Land. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you for safe driving this winter. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, good morning. Let's go to the phone line right now and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Are you the man?
Yes, I figured I'd do the pledge this morning.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy. Hey, listen, let's go right to the weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental. Roger and the crew, good morning at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Whoa, have they got a big place over there with all the tools and equipment that you need to finish any kind of a project. And by the way, they've got heaters. Whoa, boy, don't let those pipes freeze up. They've got heaters for everything. If you need heaters for a construction project, heaters for down with your pipes or whatever, they've got all the heaters for you. All you got to do is get a hold of K&R Rental at 678-3122. K&R Rental in Heyburn. And right now, here's the weather.
Looks like this inversion is going to be sticking around with us for at least the next couple of days. Maybe by the weekend we could see some precipitation in the forecast. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today, looking at a high near 34, winds out of the east-northeast, right around 11 miles an hour, gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. High of 34 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 18. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies with a high of 36. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 22. For Friday, partly sunny skies and a high close to 40 during the day. More clouds rolling in for Friday night. We do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Low of about 26. Then we do have a 30% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast for Saturday. High of 40. That could convert to snow showers for Saturday night with a low near 27. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you so much. Great job. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, and don't forget they've got all your heaters. Keep things toasty, nice and warm at K&R Rental, 678-3122. By the way, too, don't forget our dear friends. And I brag about them, but it's never bragging when it's a fact. And that's our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, Oh, my good folks. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Cindy. They've got everything over there to make sure that your clothes and your curtains, your drapes, your tablecloths, everything are going to come back to you brand spanking new, looking great. I mean, I've been going there for years, and I urge you, don't just put things away from Christmas, like the tablecloths and everything. Get them clean now so they're ready for next season, okay? They can handle it. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. All righty-dighty. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We have a great program today. We've got Dave Vigo from Indianapolis, Indiana, coming on our program at 9:06. And then at 9:30, Andrew Langer is going to be talking about gambling at 9:30. One of my favorite guests, Megan Barth, is going to be on the air talking about, whoa, wait a minute, how come we still months afterwards do not know all the facts and the information surrounding the mass shooting in Las Vegas. And then at 10:32, Tom Winiger has written a book that's all about real positive thinking for 2018. So that's on the menu for today. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Thomas and the crew. Oh, I'm telling you, we had a fantastic Christmas party over there. You know that the breakfasts are absolutely phenomenally delicious. Lunch and dinner, we go there for lunch bunch. Oh, my goodness, I love that place. Denny's Restaurant is America's Diner, and they've got two locations serving you, 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Great food, really nice people at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And while we have just a minute here, I also want to remind you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my goodness sakes. Hello, Ramsey's. They've been in business. This is really something. They should get a special award. They've been in business over half a century. Wow. I mean, a lot of business, come here, come see, come saw. And, but not them. No, they're there hanging in there and serving you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And the number to call for more information is 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. The best. Ramsey Heating and Electric. All right, give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In California, and I was a little hesitant to say this morning, but in California, I believe that we are on the verge of riots and general chaos in the streets. And I think there'll be a line of do not come here, do not cross here in the rural areas. And the good legal citizens, of which there are many down in the state of California, have just about had enough. By the way, Wheels, is everything set the way it should be? It sounds, I'm having a hard time hearing on the feed line here this morning, so maybe if you could boost that just a touch or something.
Yeah, I can try here. I had noticed that there's not that much fuzz or anything in the background, but...
Well, as long as it sounds good to you, that's all that matters, my friend. All right.
Okay, just making sure.
All right, buddy, but the great legal citizens of California have had it, and talked to many of them. When you get outside of Los Angeles... and you get away from the absolute despotic people up in San Francisco, not all of them, but a majority, the liberals, Sacramento, etc., and you get into the hinterland of people that are working for a living, people that are involved in agriculture for a living, in the marketplace of the world, really, that San Joaquin Valley. You're going to find people that are absolutely disgusted. And it goes beyond that. They have hate in their heart and eyes against what politicians are doing to their state and doing to them. And basically, with the sanctuary city policies, the sheriff's offices in all the counties, most all the sheriffs are absolutely irate against what politicians have done, creating California as a sanctuary state. Watch California. It is boiling, and soon it is going to boil over. And in a related story, I did not realize this until I heard a gentleman on television last night talking about it. But Jerry Brown's family, the governor, Jerry Brown, and his family preceding him have been in control of the state of California for 24 of the last 50 years. One family. 24 of 50 years. And with their so-called leadership, the beautiful state of California has been turned into a den of iniquity and a den of stupidity. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Like I said, I have got a lot of friends down in California, and it's an absolute beautiful state. I really have a lot of respect for the people that live there, but the leadership or lack of. Pomerell Place, hello, Pomerell Place, and they offer the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. And I've had calls here, really, at my studio after the program. And people have been asking me about Pomerell Place. And I've been there. I've taken the tour with Holly. And absolutely, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. And for seniors that are alone, and seniors, that just aren't taking care of themselves, maybe not taking care of making the right meals or taking their medication or whatever, I urge you to give them a call and find out more about Pomerell Place at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. The number 677-8212. Pomerell Place, a place for senior living. You get a hold of them today. All right, come on, let's break the ice, somebody, and give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I want to ask you this question this morning, and this probably will get the phone lines lit up. You hear these Democratic liberals, you hear the Schumers, the Pelosi's, the Dick Durbins, and all the others say, well, Trump has walked all over the Constitution. Trump has broken this law. Trump has done this. Trump has done that. My goodness, he's terrible. He's the worst outlaw ever to sit in the Oval Office. I want somebody to call me right now this minute, and be more definitive. Tell me exactly what Donald Trump has done and his administration has done to break the Constitution. Give me the how, the when, the what, and the where. And be definitive instead of just giving a glassed-over statement, okay? Caller, I'll be right with you. Stand by. Don't forget our friends at Dino's Septic Service in Rupert. Oh, they do the job that you and I don't want to do. No, I don't want to stand out there and pump that septic tank. Oh, no. Well, they're fast, fair, friendly service. They can do it and get the job done for you. Sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections, liquid waste removal, septic tanks pumped with that great big truck called Smells Cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service in Rupert, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Give them a call today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
That's a call right away.
There you go.
Well, here I am.
All right.
Now, you were talking about President Trump. I would just like to say this about him. He's a no-nonsense guy. He likes to kind of kid around with things, but when you come down to it, he's going to tell you like it is.
Okay.
It's just like that deal with Pakistan. He's saying, hey, we give you all this money, and we didn't get anything out of it. It's going to stop. And he means what he says.
Yep.
And I think they will pay attention, don't you?
I would hope so. The world and a lot of the so-called world leaders, I think, are taken aback by this man's not being a politician and shooting from the hip and the lip, literally, and telling it like it is. If I were Pakistan, I would be really, really afraid, because they could be seeing easily $300 million not coming into their coffers in the next 30 days. They are walking on thin ice with this man, as are many other leaders. And because he's not a politician, and he hasn't been versed in the swampage of the Potomac, I think Trump is going to be doing very well putting people on notice that the old guard is out and the new guard is in.
I love the way he's handling this Iranian deal.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, we give you all this money, and you didn't do anything for the people, and now they're uprising, and we're going to stick with the people because you are not our friends.
Yeah.
You said debt to America, and what more could you say that would mean any different than get the heck out of Dodge?
Yeah, I agree with you, Keith. I don't care what his past is. I really don't. I've thought a lot about this. I'm looking for the betterment of America. I'm looking for a restoration of an economy that should always lead the world. I'm looking at more security for you, your family, me, my family in the future, with all these world idiots that want to say they're going to press the button against us. I'm just looking for somebody that's going to lead us out of this great, big, tragic garbage dump back in Washington, D.C., that all these lazy politicians are too sorely missing the IQ to get us out of this mess.
You know, Obama was shooting off his mouth just this morning.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to be friends with Iran, you know. After they did what they did to him, you know, it's unthinkable.
The Democrats are really in history. I'm going to say within 50 years. You and I probably won't be here to snicker, laugh, and giggle over this. But the Democrats in 50 years are going to look at Obama, and then they're going to look at their choice for the last presidential campaign with Hillary, and they're going to go, what were we thinking?
You're absolutely right. And I thought that from the day he was elected. But I said, let's give him a chance. You know, maybe he just needs a little bit of nudge here and there.
Yeah.
No, he comes up with beer summits and stupid things like that, interfering with things that should have been taken care of by the local law enforcement. He just jumps in there, and he has done more to have this social racism than anyone I ever heard of.
I agree with you, Keith. I got to run and do a commercial break, but it's good to have you and Nancy back. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Tomorrow's your last day.
It is?
Well, it is for me.
Oh, well, don't scare me like that. I thought maybe you were giving me the pink slip or something.
Not at all.
Okay, buddy, thanks.
Thank you very much. I may have a chance to talk to you in the morning, but I'm going to leave fairly early.
All right, you take care of yourself.
You bet.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I found two different kinds of people, and I want to elaborate on it. I found a kid in the newspaper, the USA Today, that is a so-called Democrat, and he is a high school student, and he is only 16 years of age. Then I went way to the end of the spectrum of somebody that is 65 years of age and on the verge of retirement, also a Democrat. And I want to give you, in just a minute, there are two viewpoints of President Trump and how absolutely ridiculous and asinine both are from both ends of the age spectrum. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Right now, I want to mention Burley Physical Therapy. And caller, I'll be right with you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Hello, Nick Greenwell, and all the physical therapists over there. Oh, my goodness, the number to call and have an appointment made up, 678-1191. 678-1191, and they've got all the exercises, that great hydrotherapy pool. I swear by that pool. It really helps. It really put me back in shape, and they can help you. They will help you. Call them today. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 678-1191. Real quick also, I want to mention our friends with Keelix and Scott Mitten and the crew. Let me tell you, if you need some little extra punch, a little bit extra go power for your cattle this winter, I suggest you get a hold of our friends with Keelix, and Scott Mitten can tell you all about it. They've got all the different formulas for beef cattle and dairy cattle and your sheep and your horses, and I urge you to get a hold of them today. The number to call, Scott Mitten, 435-230-1175. I know it's hard to remember telephone numbers. I'll say it one more time. Scott Mitten at 435-230-1175. Call him to help you provide your cattle what they need. Keelix Supplements, a very important supplement of vitamins and minerals for your livestock. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, my friend.
Yeah, with California and what they're wanting to do, we need to treat them like Pakistan and all those other countries. Just start withholding their aid until they start obeying the federal law.
Doug, explain something to me. I'm just a simple guy, a cowboy. I grew up in Wisconsin on a farm, went to the University of Wisconsin for a while, then the University of Minnesota, graduated from Brown Institute. Explain this to me, a person that must be really, really dumb. How can the state of California basically turn around and give a very obnoxious sign to the rest of the federal government that they're going to do whatever they doggone please?
That's what I say. They think they're above the law. They think they're the elite. They think they're the all-knowing. So we need to just hit them right where we can get their attention and treat them just like I said, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all those people. Just no more federal aid until you boys step to the plate and start obeying federal law.
If you let California get away with what they want to do, and then pretty quick, Rahm Emanuel is going to lead the charge for the state of Illinois, even though he's just the mayor of Chicago, and then you look at that big, dumb dodo bird back in New York City, Bill de Blasio, that, my goodness, that guy, he's the Incredible Hulk without a mind. You're going to see chaos across this country.
This is what the Democrats want.
Absolutely.
They want chaos so they can take over. They want everybody against everybody else. While we're fighting, they're going to be slipping in the back door, taking over.
I am going to be having this year, and I want to tell you this right now, starting in a couple of weeks during the legislative session, we are going to be doing our annual legislative update every week with Representative Fred Wood, Senator Kelly Anthon, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke. And I'm telling you, if some of these cancerous issues start showing and rearing their head here in the state of Idaho, I'm going after them like a junkyard dog.
Yes. Yes, definitely. If
the deadline to pass a federal budget.
Just think about it. We are a nation of laws, and that's how we have survived for over 250 years, because we are a nation of laws.
That's right.
And everybody knows this. You start disobeying the law, we're going to turn up like Cuba, Venezuela. We're going to be like Iran, North Korea. I mean, there'll be one person with a set of rules for them, and everybody else has got to follow these other rules.
And here's what I would say. I was talking to a friend of mine in California in the Red Bluff area the other day. I said, you know what you guys ought to do is band together as legal citizens and taxpayers of this great country, and especially in the state of California, and band together and tell Sacramento and the rest of these stupid, asinine politicians, you're not going to pay a dime to the state coffers until they start taking care of citizens first and not all the illegal aliens with this sanctuary city baloney.
Exactly. And where does California, what's the first thing they do when they got a dam about to burst, when they got wildfires burning out of control? What's the first thing they do? They holler and scream to the president and the federal government, we need help,
Yeah.
we need help.
Yeah. Well, they do need help, but there's not that many psychiatrists.
Well, and for Brown, if I lived in California, I'd have petitions going. If you want to impeach somebody, that guy needs to be impeached.
Jerry Brown does not deserve to be elected as the Bakersfield dog catcher.
No, he's pandering to these people who are going to, and he's allowing them driver's license, allowing them to vote.
Yeah.
I mean,
you see, this is where you got to put your foot down, and it's got to be a foot down. It's got to tell everybody, no, this is not in accordance with what the laws are and the rest of the nation abides by. You will act accordingly, or we're cutting you off, and I'm telling you there are going to be ramifications that your state cannot absorb. It's got to happen now, Doug, because it's going way too long.
Exactly. You let a spoiled kid, when they're little, you let them do what they want and be spoiled, give in to everything that they demand. When they become teenagers, it's very hard to correct them.
Absolutely. No,
Nip it in the bud.
I am absolutely adamant that California is and I use this not in a form of worship, but I'm just saying it's a marquee state. We're looking up on the marquee at California as the state that is going to be a possible total negative trendsetter across the United States for this foolishness, this absolute insane attitude of giving people that are here illegally more rights and more of our benefits than we, the legal citizens that live here.
Well, I'd like to make a suggestion to Donald Trump when he builds that wall. He goes across Arizona and Nevada, and then he kind of turns and heads north and goes to the Canadian border. And everybody on the other side of that wall can deal with it, and all of us Americans on this side can follow American law.
Yeah. I think that right now, this administration, they've got, I think, basically up until the elections, this next November, to really pull the cork on the swamp and drain it, let those corpses that are laying out in the sun that were in the swamp dry up and blow away, because if they don't start cracking down on what the law is, what the law represents, and what the law should be for all people, this country is going to be in chaos.
Right there, and it's that last sentence in the Pledge of Allegiance. Justice for all.
There you go. I got to run, buddy. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers. I know I'm a broken record, but they need our help. They are the ones that built this country. Now we're benefiting from all their hard work, so let's give a little bit to help them out.
Amen. Hey, call me after the program, buddy. I'd appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, thank you. Hey, don't forget, every Monday we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, right on the square with a delicious restaurant and a bakery. Oh, my goodness. Every time I've had something from Sophie's, it's absolutely phenomenal. Every Monday, 8:30, we give away a dozen cookies. You answer the trivia question. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. By the by, I also want to remind you quickly about our friends with Urgent Care, and I believe we're going to have Alex with us tomorrow at about 9:18. And I want to urge you to remember the Urgent Cares are there to serve you and your family and try to help keep your health care costs down. Riverview Urgent Care at 382 North Overland and Burley. Urgent Care of Twin Falls, 2392 Addison Avenue East. And Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. You know, they take care of you now. You get treated, not seated. No appointment needed. They offer a plan with no premium that can help you manage high deductibles. And they've got 3 great locations. They're open 7 days a week with extended hours. And they've got qualified providers always on staff serving you and your family. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley. Urgent Care of Jerome. Urgent Care of Twin Falls. You need them? They're there waiting for you. The Urgent Cares. All right, I'm waiting for you. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is something that I've talked to my relatives back in the Midwest, and the cold is settling across the United States all the way down into Louisiana, Georgia, Florida. They are having snow this morning. Yes, and extremely cold temperatures. And there is another cold front that is due to hit from the Midwest, kind of swooping down into the south and encompassing all of the East Coast. And these people don't know what to do. I mean, whether it's 3 inches of snow, whether it's 6 inches of snow, whether it's an inch of snow. I used to live back there, and they go nuts back on the East Coast when they get maybe a half an inch of snow, and they're running into buildings and everything else. I mean, they just can't cope with it. And I noticed one of the weather people this morning was talking about be careful on the roadways and the ice conditions, because it's like a bumper car game on the freeway. When they get just a little bit of snow and ice, they absolutely do not know what to do. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. The global warming thing isn't working very well, Zed.
Adrian, I'm glad you called on this, because you will not, I'll bet you $100, you will not see the likes or hear the likes of Al Gore or Tom Steyer. They are nowhere to be seen right now, my friend.
Yeah, they're running for cover. Well, I've done a lot of research on this, and actually, before I became an agronomist, I actually wanted to go into meteorology, but there wasn't any curriculum available for me. So, but I've always studied it a lot. And when I was going to the University of Wyoming, January '62, it hit 40 some below. January of '63, it hit 55 below. That's the absolute temperatures. And believe me, there wasn't much moving, and that's the only way you can freeze the wind in Wyoming is to get it that cold, I guess, because there wasn't any wind. But it was, but the whole thing is, we go through these cycles, and they even admitted that it's the coldest since about 1962. We had that quite a few years of really cold weather. And then we warmed up in the 70s, and now we're back in a cold spell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very cyclic, and we've been in a decline if you use satellite temperatures since the turn of the century. Since '98, we've actually been on a decline if you use satellite. If you use ground temperatures, of course, they're skewed because of where the location of the recording device is. Plus, they've also eliminated some of the coldest spots on the planet, and so every year we have the hottest year on record, which was actually 1934.
Yep.
So, and this thing just goes on and on. It's all part of Agenda 21, which we've discussed at length. It's the poster child for Agenda 21, and right now the poster child is freezing up.
Adrian, many times on my program, I've had scientists that have talked about the absolutely disputed so-called facts of global warming or climate change. And I went through my book this morning of all the guests that I've had, the different scientists and everything, and wrote down little copies of what they said on the program, etc. And all of these people agreed over this past year on my program that the United States is moving into a cyclical cold term for a period of years. Like you said it earlier, a cyclical period, a cold term for a period of years. And this just shows that God has his hand on the thermostat, not man.
Well, absolutely, and you can look at the realization of the whole thing, and the idea that carbon dioxide is causing this global warming. As a plant scientist, it's just ludicrous.
Yeah.
Actually, our plants are starved for CO2. They'd like to have about
4 times as much as they have now to maximize. Actually, CO2 is the limiting factor. We've got, between the genetics improvements and fertilizer improvements, et cetera, agriculture practices. I mean, since I've been in Idaho 46 years, we've doubled the production of potatoes per acre. I mean, it's been amazing what has been accomplished. But the real limitation is CO2. And so by taking it out of the atmosphere and burying it, I went to a conference years ago up in Boise, and Tony Hardesty from Kimberly was the DEQ director. And I'll tell you, it was unbelievable. They want to take this CO2 and bury it in the ground. And if you do that back east, take CO2 and water, you get carbonic acid. It eats up all that limestone, and cities will just disappear like that movie Paint Your Wagon.
Right.
I mean, it would be disastrous if they actually did that. Maybe
Right.
they are. And but Zeb, the whole thing is that even the EPA admits if they put in all of these draconian restrictions on CO2, it would have literally no effect on temperature at all.
I agree.
It would have, of course, it costs millions of jobs, and right now West Virginia is, I think, the brightest spot in the U.S. As far as increased productivity and what's going on, because coal is back in the picture, and it should be. I
got to run, Adrian, but thank you so much for calling. Have a great New Year. Thank you so much.
You too.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. New Year. Bye.
And one more point before I do a commercial this morning. Just think about this. This is common sense. This is just common sense. The environmentalists and these wackos, millionaires, billionaires like Tom Steyer and Al Gore, they're saying, we've got to protect the environment. We've got to do this. We've got to lower the world's and the Earth's temperature. We've got to do this. We got to pretend that we're God with our hand on the thermostat. Think about this. In colder temperatures that they want to impose, people are going to have to use more devices, more of the heating elements, whether it is wood, whether it is coal, whether it's electricity. You're going to have to put more back out of the environment, back into the environment that they claim is bad if you have colder temperatures. I mean, these people are so erratic in their stupidity. They don't realize that warmer climes are healthier climes, and warmer climes don't put anything into the environment that's going to be negative that they're going to chew us out for in the future. I mean, think about it. The colder it is, the more you're going to burn, the more you're going to use to keep warm. The warmer it is, sit on the porch, have a glass of lemonade, and enjoy. I got to pay some bills. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. And they're located with 3 locations. Have you got a hold of Eli yet? We got to talk about what happened to the Green Bay Packers this year. They really fell apart. Anyway, Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts of South Lincoln in Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And believe me, they have all the equipment to get the job done right. All the Bobcat excavators, all shapes and sizes, new and used, for equipment rentals or retail equipment sales. All you've got to do is just go on in there, and don't be embarrassed if you don't know how to run it, because they got a big sandbox out behind the business, and they can teach you. Yeah, I'm telling you, they just really enjoy giving you a lesson. Stop in today. Berry Equipment and Rental, Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan and the crew. Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, I am going to ask a favor of you to stay on the phone with me 1 minute. I've got to get a weather forecast. I'll be right with you. Do not hang up. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 and get your get out of jail free card. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. Call for a hearing screening today. Do it. You said you would right after the first of the year. 312-0957. She is excellent about sound and hearing. Give her a call. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like this inversion is going to be sticking around with us for at least the next couple of days. Maybe by the weekend we could see some precipitation in the forecast. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today, looking at a high near 34, winds out of the east-northeast, right around 11 miles an hour, gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. High of 34 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 18. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies with a high of 36. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 22. For Friday, partly sunny skies and a high close to 40 during the day. More clouds rolling in for Friday night. We do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Low of about 26. Then we do have a 30% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast for Saturday. High of 40. That could convert to snow showers for Saturday night with a low near 27. That's your weather for Zeb at the Range.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Dr. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. Please take it from me. Call, make an appointment today, 312-0957. Caller, good morning, and thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
Fantastic, sir. Thank you very much.
I just turned on the radio, got in a good spot where I could pick up your station, but talking about these global warming, and it brings to mind of I don't ever recall seeing anything green growing when it's 20 degrees outside. It is keeping me awful doggone busy. I don't neglect the work. I just would like a vacation sometime in the summer, The part about it is they do not think. People, I would like to know where they get their idea and their thought process. Who is teaching these people that we're going to boil ourselves to death? Are they the ones living in the Sahara Desert where it's so daggum hot that even the flies don't want to be around?
Well, it's almost a religion now, and many of the college professors are out there preaching and absolutely standing on a rock on campus and preaching the dictates of we're all going to burn up and we're all suffering from climate change and it's so unhealthy. Listen, let me tell you something. What's unhealthy is hearing about people in Chicago freezing to death on the sidewalks. What's unhealthy is people you hear about that are homeless in New York and they're shivering so bad they can't find any clothing, they don't have anywhere to go, and they're literally freezing to death during the daytime. That is unhealthy.
I agree with you, and if people been watching anybody's been watching the weather around the nation, which I tend to do occasionally from time to time, Texas and Florida and some of them southern states are experiencing some cold they haven't had in a long time.
That's right.
Kind of like we did last year.
Yep.
And it's all about cycles. It's all about Mother Nature doing her thing.
No, and that's one phrase.
Powerful.
That's one phrase I don't allow on my program, Riley. You're a dear friend, but I'm going to tell you, I don't allow Mother Nature on my program because I don't believe in that. That's a fairy tale. God has his hand on the thermostat, nobody else.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is everything has a change. Everything changes. The world is always changing, and it changed long before man found coal in the ground and started a fire, and by golly, it's still going to change and do its thing, and either we live with it or we don't.
There you go.
We manipulate ourselves and progress and make ourselves more prosperous in the times that we can, or we'll fail as a race on the planet, as a species. So we didn't get this far by rubbing two sticks together and throwing animal dung on the fire to stay warm.
There you go.
We got tired of being cold.
There you go, Riley, and I can't imagine what the smell would be like coming out of my pellet stove. Anyway, have a great day. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. No, I kind of chastised him, and I didn't mean to sound like I was chewing on him, but that's one phrase that I will not say on my program. I won't allow it. Mother Nature. There is no such thing as Mother Nature. That's a fairy tale, and the left espouses in using the terminology Mother Nature. Would somebody please tell me who Mother Nature is, where she came from, etc.? You don't know because there is none. I only deal in facts, and I believe in the factual facts of God has his hand on the thermostat. Don't forget, wool growers, and we've got some absolutely tremendous lamb and wool growers in the Mini-Cassia area, and for that matter, the entire state of Idaho. And they have really put forth an effort over their careers to be hardworking, dedicated people, strong for Idaho's economy, their history, and proud to be participating in Idaho's future. You know, there's been so much go on with the wool growers and being involved in the sheep business for many, many years. And my dear friend Gary Shoresman sent me some information about what happened back in like 1890s all the way through the early 1900s, and times were really tough, especially in the winter with heavy snow, which covered up all the feed in this area. And they said an extreme amount of work was done trying to haul hay by horse and wagon and save the starving bands of sheep that wintered here in the winter months on their way back to the Midwest. So congratulations, Happy New Year to the lamb and wool growers in the Mini-Cassia area, past and present, and they're mighty proud to be a part of Idaho's economy. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Do you know who Carson Wentz is? He is a super young man that is the rookie quarterback, was until he was injured real bad a couple of weeks ago, tore his ACL, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles professional football team. Now, when there is somebody in professional sports that deserves a kudo or a slap on the back, I'm going to give it to him, because there's enough of the other kind that are stealing the limelight. Carson Wentz is absolutely a sharp young man, and he's got his head on straight. He was born and raised on a farm and a ranch in the Dakotas, and he is absolutely an avid outdoorsman. He's an avid hunter and fisherman, loves dogs, he loves livestock. Well, he put a picture on his telephone, and it showed him going back home for bird hunting this fall. And it showed him sitting there with his dog that he's had for about 12 or 13 years. And the birds that they had shot legally during hunting season. And the left is going nuts. Some of these people are ready to jump out of basement windows hating Carson Wentz. Why? Because he is an avid hunter. They are going out on all the social medias and condemning him and hating him and calling him a killer and everything else. And here is a guy that, honestly, I know some friends of mine that farm fairly close to where he was born and raised, and they know the family. And he's one of the nicest kids ever to get involved in professional sports. He's a true Christian young man. Wouldn't hurt anybody. And the left now, the loons on the left, and they're all just wacky-backy people, are going after him because he's a hunter. And this is going to go on and get worse and worse. So the reason I bring it up this morning is Carson Wentz, great young man, lead on. Continue to do what you do. Don't backwater for anybody. Absolutely continue to lead your life as a great athlete, a sportsman, and a Christian. Let's not forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you for the best of wintertime driving. Oh, nobody likes the snow, the ice, the yuck, the muck. I don't. Speaking of the yuck, I got to get off track here for a minute. Last Sunday, I was on a road that was all slushy and everything, really slushy, and it froze everything up on me, and I went to put the transmission in park, and it said, no, you're going to drive around for a half an hour on dry roads till it melts. Anyway, watch out and get ready for wintertime driving. They've got all the traction tires there for you. They've got the very best of tire chains for you, for your cars, pickup, SUVs, whatever you're pulling. And, of course, the best in brake service with highly trained brake technicians, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Now, we're going to be kind of lulled into a false sense of security here for a while, and the temperatures are going to be dancing around maybe 40 degrees or whatever. We've got cold weather on the rise, and it's going to be hitting here. Make sure you got a good battery to turn that engine over and get you to work, okay? Check it all out at your 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane in Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, I never did get to the story about that kid. I'll just quickly tell you. Here's a kid, 16 years old, up in Montana. A Democrat, he says. And he says, well, I don't like the tax plan that Trump passed because it's a tax plan that hurts pretty much everyone except the rich or is cutting health care. Boy, he really understands what's going on, doesn't he? 16-year-old kid. And then here's a 65-year-old guy that is a Democrat, and he was asked what Trump should do this year, 2018, and he says, resign. I don't see any indication in what he's doing that he's got any real clue about the real world. I kept on hoping something would happen to make me feel good, but he is just worth nothing more than resigning. The Democrats, they just can't see the forest because there's a tree in the way. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with more. Here's the news. I'll see you in 7. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you for the safest of wintertime driving. Also want to remind you, too, about our friends at Hanson Mortuary, and they're located at 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, and very flexible hours to serve you and your family. The family lives there. They're there to serve you. And when there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to help you with all the arrangements, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember their number and give them a call at 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, serving you and your family at Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and also at Morrison Payne on East Main in Burley. And in just a moment, I'm going to have a dear old friend on the program with us. But right now, Wheels, I'm going to have you play that little jingle for us, and we'll be right back after this.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Don't forget the dumpsters in various sizes. I think I'm going to get one, the big one, and put it out the back of my office window and just open the window and start pitching and chucking. I'm telling you, we got a whole bunch of stuff in here from the Christmas holiday season that needs to go. And I'm going to clean it out. You should too. Check on the dumpsters. Check on everything that they can serve you with, always at your disposal. Western Way Services, 734-6969. Right now, I'm going to talk to a gentleman that I have the highest regard for and wish him and his family and his business a very happy New Year. Dave Bego, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Zeb. Cold as heck, but wishing you and your family and listeners a Happy New Year.
Dave, the cold snap kind of swept out of Canada, and it encompassed most of the Midwest and arced into the southeast with Georgia and Florida getting snow, and then over to the East Coast. Really, how bad is it right now where you are?
Well, Tuesday night we tied at a 130-year low at 11 below zero.
Oh, my.
And here in Indiana, and it got up to about 10 degrees yesterday, and only got down to 7 last night. I think it's supposed to be up to like 16 or 17 degrees today, but we're supposed to go back down to I think 4 or 5 below again tonight.
Oh my goodness! And the old naysayers like the Al Gores and the Tom Steyers and all those people that are preaching, we've got to do something to cool off the earth. We've got to make it colder. What would you say to them this morning after you have braved through already 11 degrees below zero?
Well, I think these people in global warming, the only reason they're involved in this is because it's a source of income for them.
That's right.
And, to believe that we are changing the environment here on this planet is crazy. Now, do we need to do things to make sure that we keep pollution at reduced levels and everything else? Absolutely. But we're not the cause of global warming.
Dave, as a businessman and an author and someone that looks at and studies politics and what's going on around the economical world around you and also the environmental world, I'm just going to say this, and you can argue or arbitrate with me. I think, in general, the Donald Trump administration is the best thing that hit Dodge City in a long time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do believe that. I think he's doing a lot of the right things, and he's addressing things that need to be done. I think he's got a ways to go because I think there's some real things that need to be addressed. Like we got to get our national debt down and under control, and we got to get our government costs under control. But he's done good things with the tax reform, and he's reduced a lot of regulations across the country that are going to allow businesses to grow and prosper, and it's going to create jobs and allow people to make more money and stuff like that. And I think he's handled the things in the Middle East and with North Korea well. And so I think he's doing a lot of good things. I just think we need to really focus in on some of these. And one of the other big things to focus in is we need a National Right to Work Act. And I hope he really gets on top of that soon.
Okay, now stop right there, because for my audience that might not be aware of what you're talking about and how you want it phrased or implemented, why don't you explain that just a little bit?
Well, national right to work, or a right to work in general, which I'm the one that got it passed here in Indiana, basically allows people to decide whether they want to be unionized or not,
right,
and have to pay union dues and go through all the union stuff and that. And it gives people freedom of choice and not being controlled by the unions. And we need to have this not just in particular states. I think we got 28 states right now that have right to work laws. We need to have it across the country because it's crazy what's going on. It's like, I don't know if you saw the headlines here recently, but workers in 18 states are going to get minimum wage increases. And the SEIU, the union we fought, is behind a lot of that, and the unions have spent a lot of money on getting this done. And it's not because they want wage increases for the employees. And this is what people need to understand: they could care less. But most of what they've done across the country is when these minimum wage increases, they've got them to be approved by state legislators, and that unions are exempt. So basically what they can do is, if it goes up to, say, $15 an hour, they don't have to negotiate that much for their members. It can be $10 or $11 an hour, so that, companies will keep them in there so they continue to get union dues. I mean, how fraudulent can you get?
Well, and we've talked about the minimum wage increases, and I'm sitting here, and I can honestly tell you that a week ago, during the Christmas holiday break that I took between Christmas and New Year's, I got into a really heated discussion with a couple of people that were advocates of $15 for flipping burgers minimum wage. And, when you start to think about the wages that are earned, like here in the state of Idaho, in the Intermountain and west, in a state that has just barely 1.5 million people total living in the state, and you talk about burger flippers in entry-level jobs coming home with a gross figure at $15 an hour of $2,400 a month, then you've got people that are working in factories and other jobs basically for the same wage, and they've been there for 5-10 years. You're going to see nothing but a snowball effect that's going to just absolutely take the economy to the abyss.
Well, it is, and you're going to see people lose jobs, and
yeah,
you're going to see more mechanization come into play to replace people, and that kind of stuff. But this is all about the unions, and in the fact that they're in a death spiral, and if this article that I read on 18 states get minimum wage increases, they showed a picture of people out there with shirts on, Fight for 15, which was the SEIU motto. But at the bottom of the shirt, after it top says Fight for 15, at the bottom it says Fight for 15 and unions. And that tells you the whole story right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is about the union bosses and, their goals and agendas to keep money in their pockets and their political agenda with the Democratic Party. And to give you and your listeners a feel for why they're so desperate is total membership in unions fell from 11.1% in 2015 down to 10.7% in 2016, and the private sector membership fell from 6.7% down to 6.4%. So they're continuing, and you think about this, back in the 30s and 40s and that, union membership was 45 to 50% across the country. So you can see they've taken a real death spiral, and they're out there to do this for themselves, not for the membership or the country.
And I would say this, and I want you to correct me because you're much more knowledgeable about the union status in this country than I am. But when you look at California, and you look at the mess right now where they're absolutely defying federal laws, they're defying anybody, and they're making it not only a sanctuary city, San Francisco, LA, etc., but a sanctuary state, and they're thumbing their nose at the rules and regulatory means and methods in this country. The only reason they're doing this is to create havoc with the unskilled, the illegals, etc., for one simple four-letter word, and that's their vote. And that's what scares me about the SEIU and others. They're after that vote.
Well, that's absolutely right. And, the SEIU, they control a lot of the Democratic Party in California, and they're involved with all this stuff behind the scenes to change the state and, take it over. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what these people want. They don't want to just take California over. They want to take this country over.
When you think about it, Dave, as a businessman, and you travel a lot around the country, I said earlier this morning, and I'm going to stand behind this statement, that in this year, 2018, unless something is done about the sanctuary cities, the sanctuary state atmosphere, and the lack of caring for legal citizens that are taxpayers, I said there is going to be this year riots and chaos in the streets of California, and there's going to be a line of do not cross in the rural areas because people, the good people in California, have had it.
Well, I hope so, Zeb. I hope they wake up and have some backbone and stand up because what's going on in California is not for the citizens that are legal citizens of this country, and that this is all about the SEIU and other unions out there and the Democratic Party, and they're going to continue to do these things. And we're going to see a lot of this stuff across the country too, since this is an election year.
I agree, and I mentioned the hot spots that I'm really wary of, and we'll take a call in just a moment. But L.A., San Francisco, and you're looking at Sacramento, Chicago, New York, all of them led by very biased liberal mayors that are going to cause trouble.
Well, you're exactly right, and it's like I say, it's going to get ugly, and these mayors are doing things for the unions, and they're going to continue to do things because they need the money for this year's election process. And Democrats right now have collected about half of what the Republicans have for this year's election.
That's right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air with Dave Beagle. Go ahead, please.
Well, these democratically led cities, states, the evidence is so blatantly obvious, but we never get a true story out of the media. You have to go and search it out for yourself. You know, they were talking about, for instance, Chicago, you know, hasn't had as many deaths. We're only in the third day of the new year. I mean, seriously. They're bragging about it, and then Baltimore is already starting out pretty hot. They're dying pretty fast over there. But you see, not only is it a chaotic situation, but they're broke on their butt, and they continue to perpetuate things that do not help the people, and you say to yourself, how long do these people get away with it? You know, what's amazing about what Trump has done and the people across this world, in Iran, they see that the people have made a statement, and the people in Iran want to have things the way it was. When they had the Shah, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was a hell of a lot better than it is now. I'll hang up.
Dave, respond to the caller, please.
Well, he's right, and what you have to understand is that the big problem we have in this country is behind the scenes. The unions are out there, and they're brainwashing these people with, you know, misinformation and lies and stuff like that, and they go after people they know are easily brainwashed, and you know, like a lot of the millennials and younger people and that don't have the experience to understand what these people are all about, because they, just like they did when they attacked us, they come out and say, oh, we're going to give you this, and you're going to have all this, and, you know, it sounds like they're just getting a glorious Christmas present, and but the truth is, behind the scenes, they could care less. All they want to do is unionize them so they can collect the union dues, and that's where all this is headed. It's all about control, and you know, just like happened in Iran, and those people over there are tired of the dictatorship they have over there, and America needs to wake up and understand we don't want to go where Iran or some of these other countries have been. We want to stop these people now and expose them and overturn them.
But here's the caveat question for you. How? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I've got to know your answer to this. How are we going to make a turnaround, a 180-degree turnaround in a society that the millennials think that their professors at their schools and colleges can walk on water and they're following them like lemmings over a cliff? How are we going to turn this thing around?
Well, continue to do those of the things Trump is doing to expose the other side, and you know what their lies and that are. You know, I mean, his tweets have helped him a lot, but they've also got him in trouble because he tends to, you know, kind of get off board, and he needs to keep them professional, and but still use it to expose people, and more and more people are waking up to it. And I have to tell you, Zeb, I've talked to some Democrats that say this isn't the party that, you know, I used to know, or my grandparents or parents or anybody like that. And they're starting to look the other way, and we just got to continue, and Trump's got to continue to do these things across the country. And as people see the country getting better, we'll start to turn the tide.
Well, and that leads me up to the next segment I wanted to talk to you about. I think people are already seeing a stronger surge in the economy. I mean, my goodness sakes, the Dow at over 24,000, possibly even headed to 30,000. And we're seeing a lot of people look at their 401ks and their stock portfolios and go, holy moly, I didn't think it would ever start to come back like this. We're seeing surges in the economy. We're seeing surges of the future being a lot better. But the Democrats keep yelling at him and saying he's got to resign, he's got to resign, he's bad for the country.
And that's what they do. Again, it's the same tactics that the SEIU use against us, and you got to continue to stand up professionally, expose them, their lies and their misinformation and who they are, but what they are. And I think people, you know, when they start looking at Pelosi and some of the other Democrats, they're beginning to realize these people are crazy and aren't for them. They're for their own pocketbook. And I think Trump's doing a good job, and I think people are beginning to realize that he is a conservative president, and he does want to do the right things, and he'll continue to get things done.
Let me ask you about a situation that I've mentioned this to you before, as you being a father, a grandfather, owner of a business and everything. I'm very concerned about the escalating cancer over in North Korea. I don't trust that situation. I think at a moment's notice that fat little man might push the button just to prove that he's one of the sadistic people that ever walked on the face of the earth. What are your thoughts about how to handle North Korea with this current administration?
Well, they basically turned it over to the military and that, and I think they they got to have a face-to-face with them and say, if you don't stop it, we're coming in. And but you'll hear a lot of people talk, even on the conservative side, that it's not that big a deal as what people are making out of it. But you can't take the chance that some crazy person is going to push a button that's going to kill American people, and I think it's time face to face. We're not going to put up with it anymore.
I got to ask you this. You've heard about Carson Wentz, the outstanding rookie quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and very unfortunately had an ACL tear, is out of the playoffs, but he's such a nice young man and an avid sportsman, fisherman, and hunter. Did you hear that he went home to the Dakotas for his kind of R&R, and he went out hunting with his favorite old bird dog, and he took a picture of the dog and him sitting on a tree stump along with the birds that they'd got that afternoon, and the left is going after him and crucifying him for being a killer. I mean, the left is absolutely after a great young man, and they leave the black athletes that kneel during the national anthem alone.
Yeah, you got to understand that behind the scenes, the media is being controlled by the left, and they're forcing them to do these things because they're trying to divide this country, racially and religiously and other ways, and that because by dividing the country, that's one of the things that you use to bring down this country. And the Cloward and Piven, if you remember, I wrote a blog on it several years ago, and that was one of the many things that they're trying to do. The national debt that we have, and Obamacare, controlling education with Common Core, gun control. I mean, all those things are, some of the top 8 or 9 things that Cloward and Piven wrote that this is how you bring down the country and take it over and turn it into a communist, socialistic country.
I agree.
This is what their objective is.
Yep, I agree. We've got a couple of minutes left. Hey, Wheels at the main studio, I'm getting a little bit of feedback if you'd watch that just a little bit. Dave, big changes in your football team back there in Indianapolis. It looks like Chuck Pagano is looking for a job. Are you hiring, or what's the status there?
Chuck Pagano he's a nice guy. I've met him in that, but he needed to move on, and we need a coach here that has a stronger personality than Chuck. Chuck is too nice. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And when you're dealing with kids, young men that age, you got to be able to stand up and get them to do what they need to do to be successful. And he just doesn't have that type of personality. And like I said, I've met him. He's a great guy, and I hope that he finds something else that he really does well at.
Let me ask you this. You live in a sports-oriented professional city of Indianapolis. You've got not only the Colts, but also the Pacers, and you're nearby to other sports. I mean, what's it like living in a sports town like Indianapolis and really going through year after year after year without having any championships?
Well, it's frustrating, and we're hoping that they get this turned around with the Colts and the Pacers. We kind of have the same problem. The coach he's better than the coach we had before. He's more detailed in that, but to give you an example of the Pacers, they don't hardly play any defense.
Yeah,
they go out and they just want to play offense all the time.
Yeah,
and you can't do that in basketball. I played high school and college basketball. And you got to play both ends of the court, and need a coach gets again. And this guy's a nice guy too, but you need somebody with a stronger personality that can stand up to these guys and look them in the eyes and say, this is what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, you have been such a great friend of this program, and I just absolutely wish you a very, very happy New Year, and hope you'll continue to come on our show every week. Thank you so much.
Well, looking forward to that, and wish you and your family and listeners a very, very happy and prosperous New Year.
Dave Vigo, great friend, author, and just absolutely knows what's going on. Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you, Dave. God bless.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. I really enjoy him. Good friend. Hey, by the way, I know some folks that are out there every day taking care of your pets and your livestock. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. The number to call, 678-1177. And they are a mixed animal practice. What does that mean? Well, it means big or small, like little bitty kitty cats, all the way to great big cows and horses, everything. Big or small, they love them all, and they can take care of them all. Now, Ark Animal Hospital has been voted Minnecastia's best veterinary hospital many, many times. Dr. Bill and the whole crew really are dedicated to serving your pets and livestock. Give them a call, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. I love that. Oh, my goodness sakes, in just a few minutes, we're going to have our next guest on the phone, but I want to remind you about all the good things. I talked to Emily yesterday over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, they are making preparation for a big, big event coming up in just a matter of days. You better get on in there and treat yourself. Maybe there's something that you want. I mean, Christmas is over. You gave everybody else a gift. Maybe you need to get in there and give yourself a gift. Maybe you need a new recliner. I do. Maybe you need some new carpeting, or maybe you need a new dining room set. Well, whatever the maybes are, you better get into Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and they can help fill all the needs of your maybes, okay? Stop in and see a great crew at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. Yep, they are absolutely the best. Really nice people. The other day I mentioned that we're going to start having a segment. I think we're going to try to put it on Thursdays of all the different public service announcements. I'm going to have a little compilation of the public service announcements, upcoming events and everything, and we're going to highlight those. So if you have any event coming up that you'd like me to highlight right here on my program, and believe me, it'll get the people to listen because we're the number one for this time slot. Thank you very much to the audience, and we'll put the word out there for everybody. And speaking of great folks, we want to talk a little bit about Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. What's so special about Let's Ride? Well, this is where the fun is sold. Absolutely. They've got all the snowmobiles. They've got all the accessories. They've got all the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides. They've got the greatest service department around to keep you running and enjoying the great outdoors of Idaho. Well, get in there. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And again, they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. Let's ride where the fun is sold. While you're over in that neck of the woods, don't forget to our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, the best of professionalism with life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs. Call them, make an appointment. That's your job. You make the appointment, they'll take care of the rest. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Let's go to the phone line right now, and our guest is waiting for us. He is the president of the Institute for Liberty. And good morning to Andrew Langer. How are you?
I'm great, Zed. How are you doing?
Well, not too bad. Did you have a really good holiday and Christmas season?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty good. I was working. I'm doing a ton of work for WBAL in Baltimore, so I was on the air a ton. put in the ground like we all are.
Hey, you know what? I don't want to get off the subject here, Andrew, but now that you mentioned Baltimore, I don't think that you'll mind answering a couple of questions about it. They have right now a not very happy statistic of, I think, over 350 murders from this last year, and policemen are scared to do their job, afraid to do their job because of all the ramifications and repercussions. What really, you being back there, what is the situation like in the city of Baltimore?
Well, it's a perfect storm. It is a storm of a variety of factors, and that has been brewing for some time. What you have is a situation where the cops seem to be neutralized because there's a consent decree with the Justice Department. The police department is being investigated. You have a major corruption scandal that has broken the faith between the community and the police. You've got this detective that just got shot. There was a lockdown in that neighborhood, but it turns out it may have been related to this corruption investigation. While at the same time you have the epidemic of fatherless parents, you've got jobs and the economy sort of fleeing Baltimore City, and you've had just up until this current mayor, you've had a series of mayors who were looking at Baltimore as the stepping stone to greater political glory in either the Maryland Democratic Party or the Democratic Party at large. And so they were all too willing to kick the can down the road and put window dressing on things while not addressing the problems. And unlike cities like Chicago and New York, you don't have a lot of, not endemic, but you don't have a lot of native business that is sort of pushing for sea change in the city itself. Right? I mean, one of the ways that New York got out of its crime horrors, and I lived in New York until the early 90s, so I was a witness to all of that, was getting corporate buy-in. But when you have had a state which up until a couple of years ago was at the bottom of states for economic liberty and job creation, when you have, corporations, businesses, small businesses and big businesses fleeing the state of Maryland, and especially to Maryland's largest city, this is what creates this, what we call the perfect storm, and it becomes very difficult to solve. Thankfully, we have a mayor who wants to solve the problem, but she is faced with a massive uphill challenge.
Well, let me ask you this, Andrew, and for those of us that are on the outside looking in, of course, it's easy for us to criticize liberal mayors like Rahm Emanuel in Chicago. He makes it real easy to criticize him. And then you look at de Blasio in New York City, and there's Big Bird at his worst. And then, of course, the liberal attitude in Baltimore after they had the mess with the police and the, I can't remember the young man's name that was hauled off to Freddie Gray in the paddy wagon. It seems like wherever the city is liberalized, that is where you're going to have systemic problems that grow like cancer.
Well, I mean certainly it is not helpful when you have people. I mean, you and I both know this, right? Where you have progressives who don't live in the real world. They sort of live in a fantasy world. Where they think government policy is going to solve things, and they don't recognize the negative repercussions of the policies that get created. And so in Chicago and in New York, you have de Blasio and you have Rahm Emanuel, but their police departments tend to operate rather independently, and have for some time, where you have a strong police leadership. And while, in New York, for instance, de Blasio may be very antagonistic towards the police, the reality is the police are doing good work with great community support because of programs that were started under the Rudy Giuliani era and because they were worthwhile continued. But in Baltimore, you have none of that. You've never had this sort of strong leadership from the center until now. I think Mayor Pugh, she's only been in for a year. She is trying new things. And the great thing about the mayor is that it is not, she doesn't suffer from, it didn't originate from here syndrome, right? So she's really looking for outside aid. She's willing to work with the Republican governor, who also wants to see the problem solved. But the processes are so ingrained, the problems are so ingrained that it becomes very difficult. And so it is, and almost invariably, because nobody's taking a holistic approach, and I don't mean that in a sort of the airy-fairy New Age way. I mean everybody is looking, in terms of their particular stovepipes, right? And if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if you're a sociologist, you want to solve the problem sociologically. If you are an economist, you want to solve it economically. If you are if you're a business person, you want to solve it. So all of these, but none of these people are wrong. All of them are right, and so we need to be doing all of it. And so that's really where it comes down. So we're spending a lot of time on the air talking about this holistic approach, talking about how there's not one solution but many solutions, and they all have to be done. But the reality is nothing's going to change here unless we start to take these steps. One of the things we're talking about, for instance, right, is this Amazon second headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
People want people want Amazon to come to Maryland. Well, Amazon's not going to come to Maryland if Baltimore is gripped in a crime wave.
That's right.
And so all of these things are important.
Let me ask you this question, and then I'll get to the original content that we wanted to discuss. But when you talk about the problems, the civic problems within Baltimore, et cetera, but nobody really addresses the fears, the trepidations, and the worries of the policemen themselves. I really feel an empathy and sympathy for them, and a lot of these guys that I've talked to around the country, they're looking for an out of the police force. They want to get into something else, and you can't blame them. What's the thoughts and the fears and the prayers of the police back there that you know?
Well, I mean, it cuts both ways, because we do have a legitimate problem in that when you have an overzealous prosecutor with political aspirations of her own, who went after and created a massive politically motivated case against about a half dozen police officers, that engenders a great deal of distrust and a lack of a desire to do a job. At the same time, we have we are short about 300, 400 police officers in the city. So our police officers are already overworked. But at the same time, that there is a very real situation where there is rampant police corruption, and so there is public mistrust. Now, not all cops are corrupt, but it is an issue here. So we had a murder in late November of a detective, and after that murder, the police came in and shut down that neighborhood. Well, it turns out that detective was supposed to testify the next day before a grand jury on this police corruption case, and may or may not have been an active participant in the rogue police unit that is being investigated by the feds. And so we just had a couple of convictions overturned because police officers were planting evidence on the alleged criminals, and so that is a real problem here. And so again, there's not one truth. Yes, the vast majority of Baltimore cops are honest, hardworking, dedicated to serving and protecting the public, and they are being grossly mistreated in many ways, and not able to perform their jobs. At the same time, you have a small group of police officers that have caused a lot of people in Baltimore to break faith with the police. Mm-hmm. Again, no one truth. Both of those things are true. Both of those things have to be solved.
Andrew, with your expertise and knowledge of living there, I mean, since the Obama years, when I think, and I'll state this, and you can arbitrate with me if you wish, I think Obama did more to harm and hurt and sever race relations in this country. And right now the divide is a chasm that I think is worse now than it was since the 60s in Selma, Alabama. What's it like back in your area as far as the races possibly coming together? Or is there no chance?
No, I mean, listen. I think I agree with you. I think that race relations have been were made worse. You know, anytime you really try to, John Wayne said it best, right? He said a hyphenated American is a divided American.
That's right.
And President Obama took things that did not have a racial angle to them and made them racial. And so, when if you frame things, for instance, as an abuse of power issue, right? If you frame things as, it's either the Freddie Gray situation or Eric Garner up in New York, or anything else as an abuse of power situation, you get the reality, which is that anybody, right? Because you had that Nurse Werbles in Utah. I mean, that was not racism; that was abuse of power. And so, not that was under Obama's watch, but the point being that the Werbles situation in Utah underscored that it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, what have you. We can all be victims of abuses of power by those in authority. And anywhere in America, it can be in Baltimore, Maryland, it can be in Utah, it can be in Oregon, it can be in Texas. It doesn't matter. And so there was a real lost opportunity at that time to bring people together and say we need to focus on this. And that was it's interesting because that was one of the things that I talked about in the weeks leading up to President Trump's election. Was if we could look at President Trump's election as an opportunity to decrease governmental power, then that would be a great thing.
Would you agree, though, that the animus and the hatred that was helped fuel the fires against our police forces, thanks to Colin Kaepernick and his insanity of wearing socks that depicted police as pigs and coming out with what he did, kneeling for the national anthem, all of this has caused a divide from my generation against the younger generation, and especially the blacks that are kneeling and showing animus and disrespect for our country and our flag. It seems like it just can't be cured.
This is something near and dear to our hearts here in Baltimore because, of course, the Baltimore Ravens were seeing the result of this when they took a knee in London, which angered a lot of folks. So we had this massive championship game over the weekend here. Baltimore wound up losing in the last few minutes, but the stadium was half empty because of people who were still angry about this. But let me put it this way. If you talk about the divide between generations, I went to a very lefty high school in New York. I go up there once a year, every other year, depending, because I'm a token conservative. I have never felt more hostile or more out of water than I did on this last trip up. And it is because of this divide, the changing definition of racism, right? When you and I were kids, here, this may be what we're talking about here. When you and I were kids, racism was bigotry. And in order to defeat racism, you had to defeat bigotry, the concept of judging people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Now, you can be the least bigoted person on the planet. You can have no bigotry. And yet, you are still considered a racist by virtue of the color of your skin because of systemic white supremacy in the system. And so that in and of itself, and it sets up this animosity.
Andrew, I'm going to have to interrupt you, Andrew. All of a sudden, Andrew, hold on just a second.
The color of their skin, you grew up not a racist, and all of a sudden somebody is calling you a racist, and you haven't done anything.
Andrew, hold on just a minute. Wheels, turn him down just for a minute, please. Wheels, turn him down immediately. We have to cut that phone call because he's VoIPing out on the air. Wheels, turn that phone line down.
Also, in the last 8 years, that's a form of insanity.
Wheels, and Andrew, I want to apologize. I don't know if it's your cell phone or what, but you started VoIPing out on us, and I don't know if your signal's getting weak.
I'm here. Did I lose you guys?
Yeah, I think you did.
I'm not sure if Zeb's phone just cut out or not, but I'm going to play some bumper music and try to see if
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I was on a real test.
What was it, me?
Yeah, you weren't on. He was on.
I have no idea what. Is there somebody out at the phone booth? Go look, quick, fast. Wheels, hang the phone up. Dadgummit, get on the line.
There's no one on.
Get on the phone with him. Tell him to hang up the line. Wheels, hang up the phone line. Hurry up. Hang up the phone line. Dadgummit.
I'll go and put you...
Get me on the air right away. And evidently our phones and everything just hit a brick wall at about 190 miles an hour, and we lost all our broadcast, but we're back on the air, hopefully. And I want to apologize to Andrew Langer. All of a sudden, I was gone, Andrew. I apologize for that.
You know something? It's so funny, Zeb. I had this happen. I was filling in here at the station. I was actually from my home studio, and I was 10 minutes into the show, and I had everything crash, and it was a faulty SD card at the station, anyway, it's not. Anyway, I don't know how much of that you caught because I was on a real tear there.
If you could give me a little summation.
We'll talk about cronyism at another point because you've touched upon one of my favorite issues, which is the racial divide. Where did I leave off?
You know, and I lost a lot of contact, but we were talking about the players and the game over in London, and then coming back and the stadium.
Where I was going. So okay. I went to a lefty high school up in New York, and I go back about once a year to speak on their token conservative. I do a school, whole school assembly, and I do usually do some breakout sessions. I've never felt like a fish out of water until my most recent one, where the students were hostile. And here's where it comes down. You and I were taught a couple of things when we were growing up. Number one being that racism was bigotry. And if you wanted to defeat racism, you had to become non-bigoted, and that means judging people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin or their ethnic background or what have you. The problem is now you can be the least bigoted person. You can do this, judge people based upon the content of their character, and yet the left will still consider you a racist based upon the color of your skin. And that sets up an adversarial position where you now have to defend yourself by claiming that you're not a racist, which is an impossibility. And so everybody's a racist.
Right.
And then you add to this the idea that hate speech is a form of violence, or speech is a form of violence, and yet violence by the left is a form of protected speech, and all of this was something that was pushed by the Obama administration, very much pushed by them in a policy standpoint, and we're seeing the repercussions today.
You know, Andrew, I owe you an apology not only for having the air problems, but also for not sticking with the program and talking about the subject matter that was talked about earlier. I really enjoyed what we did.
I'll come back and talk about that. This is really one of my favorite subjects to talk about, and so I'm always happy to talk about that.
Well, God bless you, and please know that I'm going to call you back in a couple of days and have you back. We'll visit more, but in the meantime, Happy New Year, and thank you for your patience this morning.
Take care, man.
All right, take care. Thank you. I don't know what happened. Wheels, what happened on the phone line that it started VoIPing out like that? What happened?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. From what he said, it sounds that would sound like an issue, maybe an SD card or something. But
yeah.
You guys were just having your conversation, and just you were dead.
Thank you. I was dead.
Nothing, and I just out of nowhere started playing bumper music, and
okay.
I called you. And
well, whoever was messing with the phone line and we find you, you will have a very bad New Year. Let's just say it like that, okay?
Yeah,
all right.
Definitely.
And we're going to have a weather forecast right now, and I've got to get to that. And I want to say thank you to Andrew Langer for being on the program, because all of a sudden I couldn't hear anything, and it was VoIPing out on us, and I thought, beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here. Thank you for your help, Wheels, reestablishing that call. Right now, the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, and they have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well well over 50 years. 50 years serving you. Tax return preparations, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. And I'll tell you what, we work with Leiden Crane, and they've been so outstanding to help us, and they can, and they will help you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like this inversion is going to be sticking around with us for at least the next couple of days. Maybe by the weekend we could see some precipitation in the forecast. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today, looking at a high near 34, winds out of the east-northeast, right around 11 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. High of 34 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 18. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies with a high of 36. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 22. For Friday, partly sunny skies and a high close to 40 during the day. More clouds rolling in for Friday night. We do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Low of about 26. Then we do have a 30% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast for Saturday. High of 40. That could convert to snow showers for Saturday night with a low near 27. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you. Great job. Thank you very much. And we're very proud to have as our weather sponsor for this hour, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices located at 1710 Overland in Burley and 650 Fifth Street in Rupert. Serving you. Remember, they thank you for your business last year and look forward to serving you in 2018. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow. I felt bad that we had phone problems there for a few moments, but finally got everything back on the air. Andrew Langer, we're going to have him back. You know what we were going to talk about this morning? Honestly, the topic was sports betting. And I got sidetracked and wanted to ask him a little bit about Baltimore, and we had a really good conversation about what is going on or not going on in the city of Baltimore with the police and everything. Thank you very much, Andrew Langer. It was very interesting. Let's see what else have I got here to tell you about real quick before we leave and send it back over to the news. Oh, once again, I want to remind you that we are changing a few structures within the program for this year, and we're going to devote certain times for all the public service announcements. Now, if you have an event coming up or maybe a fundraiser, whatever the case might be, just send them to Zeb at the Ranch. Those are 4 words. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll do it real quick. ZEBATTHERANCH. And then the @ hotmail.com, and we'll get those on the air as often and as frequently as possible to make people aware of your event. Okay, send those to Zeb at the Ranch at hotmail.com, and we're going to start that segment next week. Okay? We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, there's a subject that has been in the forefront for a long time, over months, as a matter of fact. What happened and why in Las Vegas with that mass shooting? We're going to talk to Megan Barth about that next half hour. Then we're going to really get positive with Tom Winiger in our last segment. He has got the ultimate in positive thinking books coming out this year, and we're going to talk to him at 10:30. So all of that and more. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be back in about 7. Here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. On this January 3, a Wednesday, 2018. I know, I've had trouble already. I bet you I wrote 5 checks yesterday, and every one of them I put 17 on. Anyway, welcome back. And our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of all your traction tires for the winter driving that's going to be here with us for quite some time. Before we get underway, I want to remind you, too, on Thursdays tomorrow, we have a segment called Cache County School Days at 10:10, and I'd like to thank our sponsors for that segment. It's A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got everything, all the clothing, they've got the games, the toys, the puzzles, the furniture, everything for the wee ones, and as a matter of fact, a lot of items for the entire family at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Along along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. Number to call and find out more about their outpatient surgeries and how they can save you money, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you Cassia County School Days on Thursdays at 10:10. Right now, I'm going to go to the phone line, and there is a lady with us that is one of my favorite people to talk to. Very well informed, very articulate about what's going on in the news of the day, and she is the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com. Megan Barth, good morning and Happy New Year to you.
Well, Happy New Year, Zeb. Good to be on with you.
You know, Megan, I sit here in my office from about 4:30 in the morning until I go on the air, and I'm reading all these different news stories, and I've got my lovely wife finding out about this story or that story, or I'm calling New York or Washington, D.C. Why can't I find out anything that's finalized about what happened in Las Vegas, Nevada?
As far as the largest mass shooting in our country's history, you're not finding any information. Well, you're not the only one, and it's not because that you're in Idaho and I live in Las Vegas. I can't find out anything about the Las Vegas shooting, much like you, and Vegas is my backyard. The FBI chief finally came out right before Christmas, around December 20th, and actually gave an interview to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which is owned by Sheldon Adelson. And he's a special agent in charge. His name is Aaron Rouse. And he basically said that his focus is on the motive, which is what everyone wants to know. But he attests that we may never know the motive. He also claims that the FBI has interviewed upwards towards 400 people worldwide, and each of whom had some sort of connection, big or small, to the gunman, Stephen Paddock. He also goes through and details how extensive the investigation was, and lists that 400 specialists were brought in, 1,500 leads were followed locally, 500 worldwide, 400 people were interviewed, 40 terabytes of data was collected, 22,000 hours of video was collected, 250,000 images were collected. It took them 14 days to comb through a 15-acre festival site, which was basically the kill box where Stephen Paddock assassinated 58 people. 12 federal search warrants were filed, and 500 grand jury subpoenas were issued, and we still know nothing. So with all of that evidence collected and all of that terabyte data collected and all of the hours of video collected, we still know nothing. And I don't know if this gag order is from the MGM International, because the casinos wield a lot of power, especially over the news in Las Vegas. Because MGM International does not want, whether it's a domestic terrorist attack or an Islamic terrorist attack, associated with their brand. The Mandalay Bay is already bleeding money. They were already laying off hundreds of people last year. We're expecting thousands more this year. And so I don't really know who has issued this gag order, but, it kind of comes down to this, Zeb. Do we really trust the FBI? And I would have to say that no, a majority of the American people have witnessed what's happened to this FBI as far as how it's been politicized and corrupted by the former leadership and some still in charge, like Andrew McCabe, who's going to resign, I guess, this year sometime. But we have some issues related to finding the truth. And we may never know the truth, and that's the unfortunate, that's the most unfortunate thing in this outcome.
Megan, you, of course, are involved in finding out all the ins and outs of every news story. I am also on this talk show. And when San Bernardino happened with the terrorist killings and shootings down there, I had people that I could talk to and find out information so that on my next broadcast, I was really doing some responsible journalistic reporting, telling people what was going on. The same happened in New York. I had people back there when they had the person cyclists and run down all the bicyclists. This story is leaving me cold. I can't find anything because nobody knows anything about the girlfriend. They don't know anything about how the weapons got into the hotel room. They don't know anything really about Paddock. They don't know why Paddock's home, even though it was cordoned off, still had information taken out of it. I mean, this is the most ridiculous story I've ever heard.
Well, it is, and you would think that we would have much more information, 3 months after the largest mass shooting than we've had. And so without this information, there's a vacuum that's created, a sort of black hole that gets filled with a variety of suppositions or conspiracy theories and also anxiety. We deserve to know the answers. And, when this shooting first happened, and as you and I had spoken before, I listened to the police scanner from the minute the shooting started, basically, till about 5 hours later, till 3:30 in the morning. And, I learned a lot by listening. However, one of the main things I did learn is that the response was quick by SWAT and Las Vegas Metro. However, 1,100 rounds that were shot through either one or two windows were done so in such a finite amount of time that I don't believe that any weapon or belt or bump stock used by one man could fire so many rounds. And then we look at the crime scene through the photos that were released to the press, and there are no shells around the dead body, Stephen Paddock's dead body. And then, of course, thank you for mentioning the girlfriend, because the girlfriend, who's Filipino descent and who had traveled to the Philippines during this mass shooting, her name appeared on a valet stub and at the Mandalay Bay. Well, we know that hundreds of pounds of tanzanite were in Stephen Paddock's car. So if she drove the car, you're telling me she didn't know that she was driving around with hundreds of pounds of explosives?
Oh, my.
And furthermore, if she was at the hotel, she didn't see her boyfriend bring up or pack 10 or 12 suitcases? I mean, if my boyfriend came on a trip, whether it was a 5-day trip or a 2-week trip, and he brought 10 suitcases, I would sure as hell know what was in those suitcases. So she leaves for the Philippines. Well, the question remains, when did she go? Was it the day of the shooting? Was it the day before the shooting? So all of these answers remain unanswered, and I guess the reporter at the Las Vegas Review-Journal didn't think far ahead enough or wasn't inquisitive enough to answer some of these questions. And I sure as heck can't answer these questions because, like I said, there's a gag order. They're not releasing any information.
But, Megan, with the atmosphere and personality of Las Vegas, and I know the city very well, I have been there for numerous events that I've announced in Las Vegas, is it a cover-up attitude? Is it we've got to make sure that nothing leaks out because it might kill our tourism? What is the general feeling there with the people that you talk to?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think I had told you before that, we did have an Islamist terrorist attack, or at least an attempt, at the SLS Casino, which is on the north side of the Strip, where an Islamist tried to use pipe bombs to blow up, I think it was the gas line, and he failed, but he was caught, and he fled the Strip down the 15 freeway going south and then barricaded himself in the car on the side of the freeway and then caused the freeway to be shut down for 5 hours. Now, how do I know that? Because I was stuck in the freeway shutdown. But I never would have known that if I picked up the paper the next day. I never would have known that if I turned on the TV the next day. So the casinos really kind of own the news here, and they do not want, like I said, a incident like a terrorist attack associated with their properties, because the SLS certainly never gave a statement, and the incident appeared on like page 3 of the Review-Journal. I mean, it was hardly mentioned. So I do think that this is kind of the old adage of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Well, let me ask you this question, and I guess it's I took pre-law courses at the University of Wisconsin. I was going to be a lawyer, and I saw the light, and thank goodness I turned my life around. But what about the lawsuits involved in this case, they can't go anywhere. They can't gain any traction. They can't have any finality, because how are you going to create a lawsuit when you don't have the basics of the facts?
Well, and, I've been watching Tucker Carlson, and specifically every Friday, I believe he's donating a segment or two to this mystery, really. And he often has on a lawyer out of L.A. who is really leading kind of the lawsuits against MGM International, Mandalay, et cetera. And so perhaps the discovery process, we will learn something as far as more facts related to this case. Unless the casino, because of their deep pocketbooks, but this is going to be, billions of dollars of liability, potential liability, they happen to settle in order to bury the discovery.
What about the city of Las Vegas itself, Megan? As I said, I know Vegas very well. I've worked there many, many years at different venues, but I understand that they are putting up barricades and treating it like a terrorist might return city. Is that correct?
Yeah. New Year's Eve, we saw 1,500 National Guardsmen deployed. Our entire police force was deployed. They have just recently, like New York, placed concrete barriers along the walkway in case of those, truck attacks that they're like to be called. And Vegas has been a target of ISIS for many, many years. And it was ISIS that came out and tripled down on taking responsibility for this mass shooting and had declared that Stephen Paddock was one of their lone wolves. And so we did have a heightened sense of security and alert this past New Year's because of this mass shooting, because we are a target of terrorism, and because of what we, are witnessing worldwide, really, and as recently as New York.
Is it a attitude in Las Vegas? Is it kind of being permeated by the press and the police and everyone in charge that the less said, out of sight, out of mind?
Yeah, I would say so, because it's more along the lines of that old adage, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and sometimes mysteries will never be solved. However, there is a financial component and a brand component to this massacre that would have staggering repercussions beyond what has already happened. So I think there is a cover-up, so to speak, or a gag order, or some type of witness protection program that I'm just certainly not aware of. But the FBI, since they have taken over the case, has really created more mystery, because Sheriff Joe Lombardo, if you recall, he was having press conferences nearly daily for at least a week after the shooting, and then he's disappeared. And he hasn't really come forward because now, of course, the FBI is handling it. And I've worked with the FBI in Vegas, and I can tell you that I don't trust the FBI in Vegas.
If you were to sit down today and write a book about this event, and you were going to put your theories and your prognostications in this book, how would you synopsize what happened in Vegas, and what would you say was the reason, the motive, and what happened to the people? What would you do? What would you say?
Oh, my. That's a loaded question, Zeb.
I know it is.
I think I would just, I think each chapter would be a question, because there are so many questions. Now, whether that be a 9-chapter or a 13-chapter book, it remains to be seen. Maybe it'd be more. Maybe it's 20 questions. But there are so many questions that it's hard to really kind of come to determination. But I've worked with plenty of federal agents, good guys, and I haven't worked with, no women, but still good guys. But, my whole question is, of course, too, was there really one shooter? Could one shooter have done this much damage in 6 to 10 minutes? Why did he have 2 sniper positions, 2 broken windows? This guy wasn't insane. Okay, so let's just dispel that myth and that narrative. He was not insane. He was methodical. He planned this attack out very well in the fact that he had a perfect room with the perfect trajectory and the appropriate equipment and arsenal and armory. He also scoped out other events in Chicago as well as another event in Las Vegas to carry out a massacre, but decided on this one specifically. Now, why this one specifically? Well, we can suppose that why did he pick a patriotic country music festival that at the end of God Bless America is when he decided to open fire. You know, why did ISIS triple down? What is the symbolism surrounding ISIS's claim?
Right.
As well as the symbolism related to the massacre in and of itself. And, of course, all of the questions related to the girlfriend, which I had already covered. But really, there are more questions than answers. And
Absolutely.
the only way we can find the answers is to keep asking the questions and pressing the feds or independent investigators to try to come forward and do their job.
We have a caller with a
public relations. You know, this is a public relations nightmare.
Right.
For the Mandalay and MGM International, but it's getting no better because there is no information.
That's right.
No public relations.
That's right. We have a caller with a question for you. Go ahead, caller, quickly. I'm almost out of time. Go ahead. Evidently, they didn't have the time to stay on the line. Let me ask you one final thought, Megan, and that is in regards to the people that you know that work there, live there, etc. Has the mood of Las Vegas changed since that event?
Yeah, it has. I think we still have a lot of anxiety. You know, people see Vegas as this bright, light, shining, big city, and we're absolutely not. We are a very small valley. Clark County, maybe 1 million people, a little bit more, but we're very spread out in some very rural parts. But the casinos are the major employer of our county and of the state. And we're a very tight-knit community. You saw that in the blood donation lines right after the massacre. For days, we raised over $10 million for the victims. You saw small businesses pulling together and volunteering and doing what they could. But there is a heightened sense of anxiety because we don't have answers. And without answers, how do you find solutions to try and best protect these types of venues, specifically outdoor venues? Vegas now has over 24 types of outdoor venues and events, and they grow every year. It seems like there's something every month. So, yes, there's definitely anxiety, but we pulled together like no other community I have lived in or I have witnessed.
I want to wish you a very happy and safe new year. Megan Barth, founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com. Thank you so much for being on our program, and don't hesitate to call and come on the show if you learn anything more. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, Zeb. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you much. Wonderful lady, and a lot of questions about Las Vegas. What happened, what didn't happen, where the people are, who the people are, and I really appreciate her candor in talking about what happened down in Las Vegas 3 months ago. 3 months ago, and we still are not given any information. Wow. While I have a little time here, and I have no idea what's going on this morning with some of the electronics. I hear voices sometimes coming in. I hear voices. Yeah. I open myself up for that, of other things being programmed into my show, but hopefully we can get that rectified. Some of the things I wanted to tell you about, more of our people that helped us with Christmas and New Year's, and I wanted to give some of those folks a shout-out again. Dot Foods at 1541 West 27th in Burley, wishing you and yours a very happy New Year. They are at Dot Foods, the nation's largest food industry redistributor. Happy New Year. Along with our friends at Streamline Precision, Tim and the crew at 120 South, 100 West of Burley, 678-9204. We give them a big shout out for helping us with Christmas and New Year's, along with Senator Kelly Anthon, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, and Representative Fred Wood. Thank you for all your involvement on this show. And also we want to say a big thank you to the Burley Area Merchants Association, BAMA. What nice people shop locally and save. And that's, of course, Burley Area Merchants Association doing so much to promote business here in the Mini-Cassia area. Right now, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good Morning, Zeb. I missed the 8 o'clock hour this morning, but I wanted to let everybody know that there is a free lunch yet. Today, the first person that signs in out at the Burley Senior Center for lunch, I'm buying lunch for them.
Well, listen to
Never
that.
been there before, from 21 to 102, somewhere's in there. There's a free lunch waiting for them.
Oh, Joe, you do so much for the community and especially the Senior Junction. God bless you, and hopefully everybody will show up and enjoy a great lunch.
Ham and beans, cornbread, and yummy dessert, and whatever else they got available. It's always good.
You know, Joe, you just can't mess up ham and beans and cornbread, can you?
Yeah, you sure can. Not on a cold day.
There you go. God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to you and your show.
All right.
We missed you while you was off on vacation.
Well, I appreciate that, Joe. God bless you. The world's greatest real estate agent. Don't work too hard.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Nice man, Joe Taylor. Appreciate him a lot. Let's see what else have I got here real quick. We are going to, after the break, we're going to have a gentleman on the air by the name of Tom Winiger. And he's a motivational and instructional author, speaker, etc. And he's got a new book called Your True DNA, Discovering God's Gift Within You. And we're going to have him on the air, and I'm looking forward to that. We need some positive. And we're going to have him supply it in this next half hour. Let's see, what else have I got cooking? Next week on the show, as I've been telling you, we're going to make some changes on some of the segments. And be sure and send those public service announcements. Maybe you've got an event coming up, or maybe you've got some kind of a fundraiser. Be sure and get those to me. Send those to Zeb at the Ranch at hotmail.com. Caller, quickly. I got a minute left. Go ahead.
Hey, Zeb. Good morning. In response to your guest, looking at the stats like on bump stocks, they're capable of 800 to 900 rounds a minute. If they only picked up 1,100 casings, that kind of shows a lot of things. They said he was an experienced shooter, and I mean no ignorance to any of the victims, but I'm surprised there was not way more casualties.
Oh, I totally agree. But
and number two, finding rounds around the guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't shooting from the coffee table. He was shooting from the window. And that's where they found his body. So that it's pretty easy to display some of the myths, I guess.
Let me ask you this question, though, and have you think about this. Where are all the cartridge casings in the room and down below on the ground from the bottom of the window? Where are they?
Well, that's a good question, but nobody's ever really brought that out either. Photographs, nobody gets to see any of that kind of stuff. So
absolutely.
I think that if they would
snow and ice
we
are
would see
not
that.
normal.
I agree with you, and I had another interruption there while we were on the air of the network. I don't know why they can't fix that, but I appreciate it. God bless you. Happy New Year, and I'm going to send it back over to the main studios. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you much.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And a good morning to you on this third day of January, the new year, 2018. And I'm really excited about having this next gentleman on our program this morning. And sounds to me like it's going to be uplifting and a lot of positive feelings with a new book that he has out called Your True DNA, Discovering God's Gift Within You. Good morning, Tom Winiger. How are you?
Good morning, Zabel. Well, we are doing good here. It's 12 below zero, but our hearts and minds are strong.
Let me tell you, you must live in the Midwest someplace. Tell me exactly where you are.
We're in Minneapolis, so it's been a few days of this. We're doing fine.
I went to school in Minneapolis, as a matter of fact, University of Minnesota and Brown Institute, as a matter of fact, of technology. And I can remember winters back there, back in the 60s, when we snow machined up and down Lake Street.
Oh, wow.
But those...
I'm not very far from Lake as we're sitting here, so but that's good. I actually came from Iowa, and I learned to rake my roof up here, so we're getting with the program.
Tom, I'm really excited about your book, and give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of what the book is, what it's about, and what you hope to do with it.
Well, thank you. Actually, I had a little epiphany in my life back in 2001 where I woke up on tour as a speaker. I was doing about 80 conferences a year, and I woke up in Grapevine, Texas, and realized that I had accumulated most of the things I wanted in my life, but in spite of my success, I was unfulfilled and didn't know why. And that launched me on a journey to figure out why so many people live their lives without purpose, even though they try to find it. And the book is the culmination of that journey that says you can't find purpose if you don't know your gift, because purpose is discovered in the application of gift in your life. So it's a little bit of a deep theology here, but when you get into it, to most people it seems to make a little sense that there's one thing that we were given to do from a gift standpoint, like an attribute, and the closer we get to applying it in what we're doing, the more joy, fulfillment, and meaning that we have in our life. So that's really what the book is about, how I discover my gift, so in its application I discover purpose.
You know, this is really interesting for me, and I'm thinking ahead a little bit here, and I'm going to ask you this question, and then we'll go back to the book a little bit. When you look at the younger generation today, the millennials, with really, in cowboy terminology, I don't think they've got a trail to ride their horse down. What do you think about these kids and what their future is going to be if they don't have any idea about their purpose?
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because half the people that I run into that are interested in this subject are under 32 years old. And they went to college, they got a degree, they thought the degree was going to give them a life. They didn't end up with the job they wanted, and they didn't get the life they wanted. Now they're going, I don't want to live the rest of my life this way. So it's very, very pertinent that we begin taking a look at ourselves and saying, you know, there's 3 or 4 characteristics here that we need to look at. Number one, what do I seem to be able to do without thinking about it? What do I sometimes criticize other people for not being able to do that comes so easy to me? What can I do that I can't explain? Where does my energy come from? And you take 5 or 6 of these characteristics, and all of a sudden you start identifying something that you appear to have been born with, not something that you learned to do something with. And it gets us a little closer to this path I'm talking about.
You know, you said that 84% of the population is unhappy and unfulfilled. You know, how do people look in the mirror? I was fortunate because I knew what I wanted to do way back 50 years ago. But how do people understand where they want to be, how they're going to get there, or do they just feel it's a dead end and they give up?
Well, I think it's all of the above. I think that the 84% came from a study done by the Harris, came out last September, which truly says people are unhappy because they're not engaged in the job that they have because the job they have is not fulfilling. So my call to people, which is part of this journey that I've been on of discovery, is it's not our job but what we do in our job that gives us that satisfaction and meaning. So don't try to make your job your life. Find something within the job that seems to gratify your energy and go to that place. Like, I'll give you an example. So I asked somebody the other day what they do, and they said they're a special ed teacher. And I thought, well, that's very good. And I said, but that's not really what you do. You really prepare kids in a special way for life, right? And teaching is the vehicle. And all of a sudden there was a dead silence, and this young man looked at me and he said, you know, I think you're right. I think the bigger call in teaching is not in the teaching itself, but in using teaching as a way to prepare kids who are of special needs for a life where they can find purpose, they can find joy, they can find meaning. And all of a sudden it rises to a higher level in terms of my commitment and my purpose.
Mm-hmm. What about one of the categories I wanted to explore with you, living without happiness? Now, I have been blessed. In my life, I've been able to announce every special event around the United States, equine events, rodeos, horse shows. I've done the Olympics. I've done everything I wanted to do in my career. So I'm blessed, and I'm extremely happy about what I've achieved. What about people that just get up in the morning and go, I hate my job. For 8 hours, I'm just going to be Mr. Sorrel. What do you tell these these people?
Well, there's two things here. Number one is most unhappy people are not appreciative of what they do have, so nothing seems to be satisfying. Number two, in the book, I define happiness and joy separately. I have learned that there's a significant characteristic related to happiness that tends to ebb and flow. So happiness normally comes from the accumulation of things that unfortunately sometimes goes away, where joy tends to be something that comes out of something that doesn't work. So can I be joyful when it doesn't go my way? Can I look for the good in things that are not working? And that's an attribute that's a character in all of us that tends to lead us to sustainability. For, on the journey it says, when something doesn't work, that's probably a good thing too, because there's this whole divine intent in our life that tends to right us when we fall down. I always say to people, you got to fall down to get up. And if you're always up, how do you learn to get up unless you don't have to get up? And I hope that makes sense to the people listening. But, Scripture basically said, and I believe this is a truth, is that good can come from things that are not good. It all depends on how we relate to them.
Tom,
so I meet guys 55 years old, 65 years old. They say, I had a great career, but I don't know what to do now. And I typically say, well, your career became your life, and that's okay. But what was it in your career that gave you the energy to do it? And how can you apply that now?
Yeah.
So that you can continue to sustain that purposeful feeling that you have in your life with meaning.
You just hit on it. I mean, that's what I was going to ask you about, because I think too many people, and Wheels over at the station, watch the feedback a little bit on this, please. But too many people, when they hit that peak of age 65, they think, oh, the life is over, I'm retired, I'm going to sit on the dock, I'm going to hold a fishing pole, my life is over with. And really, I'm more energized now at 70 than I was at 65, 55, or whatever.
Well, isn't that so true? And you and I are the same age, so, I'm the same way. But it took a turning point in my life to figure that out. But I say the same thing. I'm working with a psychologist out of the University of Madison who does studies on seniors. And she basically says, we have an institutional approach to senior housing. We don't have a purposeful approach to senior life.
Right.
And all of a sudden we discover that if we can't do something we used to do that we thought was our life, then we lose our purpose, rather than figuring out there's something about us we can do that has nothing to do with the job we're doing. It has to do with who we are.
Absolutely.
And if we can go there, life continues to sustain its joy and its meaning and its fullness.
Absolutely. Tom, we have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. Please, you're on the air.
Hello, Zeb. I share a thought and get your guest's reaction to it. I was told once as a young man, you can have the best paying job in the world and hate it and go nowhere, and have a moderate paying job and love it and go far. I'll get off the air and hear his reaction.
Okay, we'll have Tom respond to the caller, please.
Sam, could you do me a favor and repeat that for me? It broke up on my end.
Yeah, and I was having a hard time hearing. I will say that we've had trouble with our phone lines here this morning in southern Idaho. And basically, he was talking about how you can have a job and hate it and not go anywhere. And you can have a job that you love and you can reach any and attain any goals in the world.
Right. But the job that you have that tends to take you everywhere is the job that you find purpose in bigger than the job.
Right.
The people who are excited, like I have a daughter that's this way, and it seems like everywhere she goes, things work out. But she has a purposeful attitude about what she's doing. So it's not the functionality of the job, but what she brings to the functionality of the job that tends to enlighten her joy and satisfaction, if that makes any sense.
Tom, do you find people that you interviewed and people when you were putting together this book, let's forget the job for a minute, are they not finding things in their spare time maybe to do that they enjoy on the weekends or in the evenings? They don't have any hobbies. They don't do anything. Is that a big part of what you're writing about?
Well, that is the biggest challenge of life. The biggest challenge of life is we tend to pour everything we are into our job thinking the job's going to carry us forever. And so we don't have anything else to do. We don't have an avocation where we apply what our gift is in other areas. Like, for example, I've come to the reality that one of the gifts I have, and I'm saying this in total humility, that became part of my speaking career and my writing career was I have the ability to look at something that's relatively complex and break it down into simple, understandable language so people can do something with it. And so I have committed myself to teaching outside the classroom, so to speak, where I can volunteer to help people look at stuff, make it a little simpler, and see what they can do with it in their own life. And all of a sudden, I have an avocation, not just a vocation or a job, because I'm using that outside of it.
Right.
I find that many seniors that I run into today are members of SCORE, which is a volunteer group of, I call them exhausted business leaders, who now meet with small businesses who can't afford this kind of information and volunteer to help them out. And these people are so excited and so purposeful because it's something outside of their job that they're committing to making the world a better place.
Absolutely.
The book is easy to find, Zeb. If they go to yourtruedna.com, the book's available there. It's also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
I am going to get a copy.
Accessible too. If anybody wants to talk to me, if they just Google my last name, which is Winning with an ER on the end, it comes directly to me. So somehow I lucked out with a good last name that people can search easily.
Well, I want to wish you a lot of success with this book, and I'm going to get a copy of the book. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to invite you back on so we can kind of tear it apart a little bit. But, Tom, thank you for being positive and talking about your book, Your True DNA, Discovering God's Gift Within You. Tom Winiger, thank you for being on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you. Have a blessed New Year.
God bless. Thank you very much. I got to get a copy of that book. And boy, Wheels, we're getting a lot of feedback here. I don't know what happened to our phone lines this morning, but we've got to peruse the problem, my friend. Thank you. Right now, we're going to have the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, great website, scarrowsmeats.com. Check out all the marinated prime rib and the bacons and the breakfast sausages and oh my goodness, all the smoked hams. It's all delicious from our friend Don Scarrow and his crew at Scarrows Meats. Give them a call, 324-7657. Right now, here's the weather.
Looks like this inversion is going to be sticking around with us for at least the next couple of days. Maybe by the weekend we could see some precipitation in the forecast. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today, looking at a high near 34. Winds out of the east-northeast, right around 11 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. High of 34 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 18. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies with a high of 36. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 22. For Friday, partly sunny skies and a high close to 40 during the day. More clouds rolling in for Friday night. We do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Low of about 26. Then we do have a 30% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast for Saturday. High of 40. That could convert to snow showers for Saturday night with a low near 27. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina. Appreciate that. And brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are really good at what they do with the best of meats, and you just give them a call or stop in because they are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Got time for a couple of phone calls. Give me a jingle on the landline. Love to hear from you. Please, I'd welcome your call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know if you followed this or not, but Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah is going to retire. And lo and behold, look who all of a sudden may start to rethrow his hat into the ring politically, Mitt Romney. And it was interesting. I don't know if you've caught this story or not, but yesterday, after Orrin Hatch stood up and said, it's time to retire, and he said, like an old boxer, you got to have the knowledge as to when to leave the ring. Well, he said, as a senator, I've got to have the knowledge that now's a good time to retire. Right after he made that announcement that he was going to retire, Mitt Romney, on his Facebook page, it changed the address from Massachusetts to Holiday, Utah. And a lot of people thinking, look out, here comes Mitt. He is going to try to win that senatorial seat and take over for Orrin Hatch. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436. And boy, the way that Trump and Romney did not get along during all the presidential debates, etc., and some of the things that were said by Romney, going to be really interesting to see and hear if President Trump would go on the stump for Mitt Romney to become the next senator from Utah. Interesting. Very interesting. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your phone call that I know is coming in, don't forget to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. I really enjoy working with these people. They are so friendly, and they've been on the program for years and years, and I thank them for all that they do. And they say, get ready for winter driving. Yeah, we've had a couple doses. Well, we're going to get some more. You can bet on it. They've got all the tires, all the traction tread tires for your getting through the snow and the ice and the muck and the yuck. Stop in and see any one of the 7 locations today. And they've got all the tire chains. And by the way, don't forget ever, they've got always the best and highly trained technicians with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. All of this and more at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Couple of little news stories here before we wrap the program up for today. I'd like to have some calls. Chelsea Clinton is back in the news. And if you didn't hear what she did, she gave a warm holiday greeting to an unusual group when she wished the Church of Satan a Happy New Year. Clinton did a Twitter and was in a conversation with the Church of Satan. Isn't that comforting to know that the Clintons are back in the news again, with Hillary Clinton wishing the Church of Satan a Happy New Year. And then, of course, we have other stories. People are freaking out in the state of Oregon because a state law is going to ban self-service gas stations. There will be no more any self-service. They're going to ban those, they say. And they're going to go to where you have to have people put your gas in your car. And the law that's going into effect in June will allow counties with 40,000 residents or less to pump their own gas. But anywhere else, nope, no more self-service. They're going to go with the attendant. And Oregon changing the law, striking the law that says you can pump your own gas. Nope, you can't do that anymore up in Oregon. Now it's going to be all with attendants. And last but not least, in the little stories of the morning, CNN's Brian Stelter claims that Donald Trump is mentally unfit for office. Yes, another of the CNN stories. This guy who criticized other media outlets in 2016 for covering Hillary Clinton's health issues claimed on Tuesday night that President Trump is mentally not well and unfit for office, and so therefore this guy, Brian Stelter from CNN, is calling for the resignation of President Trump. Let's see how far that goes. Caller, good morning. Thank you. I'm coughing. Go ahead and say something.
Something.
Thank you. I had to get a drink of water there real quick.
Yeah, that pumping gas in Oregon, that's the funniest thing you ever did see. When I was driving truck, I'd go over there, and they wouldn't pump for a diesel truck. You'd pump your own, but for a car, they'd pump it.
Yeah.
And you'd ask them to do the windows and check the oil. Nope, We just pump the gas.
And you get out of your truck. You got to get out of your vehicle anyway if you're going to check your own oil or do the windows, etc. This is so stupid. I think
it is. Well, I don't know the reason behind it, but
I don't either.
My thinking is that they done this so they could give some people some jobs and increase the prices, some fuel. They got to pay for those attendants.
Well, and there's one other thing, too. And again, Wheels, ride the gain. We're having a lot of feedback trouble here this morning. Another thing, too, is that I pulled into a self-service gas pump just last week in Twin Falls, got out, and I was filling up my pickup, and I looked across the island, and there, putting in gas into his car, was a guy standing there smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah, they're crazy. People don't realize the facts of life that gasoline will explode.
Yeah, and I honestly, I never had. I quickly put the pump on the hook and got out of Dodge City because I didn't want to be one of those toasts that they were talking about the next morning.
Exactly. Cell phones will do the same thing.
You got it.
Electricity will set it off.
That's exactly right. Hey, man, I got to go, but I appreciate your call. And caller number 2, call tomorrow morning. I'd love to hear from you. And we want to remind everybody we'll be back here tomorrow morning, hopefully with better phone lines and connections at 8:06, where we always say the way things were, the way things ought to be. Have a great day. God bless.